Disappointed! Disappointed! Very disappointed! 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 Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This isn't my world. Disappointed.
So
wait a minute.
Here we are.
And we are live, guys.
Guys, it's Mind Your Biz Monday. That means the weekend is officially over, and it's time to stop talking about Crypto Twitter's Thirst Trap Championship Awards and get back to the really serious business of your money, and specifically your money as it pertains to cryptocurrency. There's been tons of news today about projects that are aiming to encourage mass adoption by making cryptocurrency easy to buy and sell, and everyone's pretty excited about it. I don't know, there's debate in the community. Always makes for a good time, huh?
Oh, yeah. And I appreciate you calling that out, thirst traps. And frankly, community, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that you did not reward me more for my thirst trap photos. I think I have to try a little harder.
It was really impressive. Yep, that onesie dance.
Oh, there's always next weekend, right? Always next weekend. And all right, so here we go. We've got a guest with us, and so let's go ahead and introduce our guest, Nicole, before we jump into the news.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know how to pronounce your name properly. Is it Ole?
Yeah, it's good with Ole. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm fine
all
with that. It's Leo, but I use for the community Ole.
Okay, Ole, and you're with DeroGold.
Yes.
Thanks so
That
much
is
for being
correct.
here. We're really glad to have you on, especially because we know that this is not exactly a convenient time for you to be
Oh,
here.
thank you very much for having me. It's fairly convenient. House is quiet, kids are asleep, so all good.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, so first thing that we want to talk about right now is this major news from today that PayPal and Venmo are going to be allowing customers to transition from cryptocurrency, right? So that's
Correct.
Yeah, to buy and sell cryptocurrency directly from those apps.
Yeah, so at this point, I mean, from what I understand, at this point, it's a rumor only, and it's unconfirmed as of the time of the writing of the article. However, it was strongly confirmed that there were some sources that said that they are taking steps towards it. They're just, the specifics aren't known from what I can tell. So knowing whether it's just Bitcoin or Bitcoin and Litecoin or Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, or Bitcoin and some non-contentious forks, hard forks of Bitcoin. There's so many ways that they could be approaching this. And we don't have a whole lot of details yet, just that there's some kind of a pretty firm commitment on PayPal's part to make it possible for people to easily on-ramp and off-ramp into and from cryptocurrency, and at least US dollars, if not other fiat currencies. So I don't know. Exciting, mixed news. The audience knows that I have kind of a complex view of this topic. Nicole, what do you think about this? Is this bullish? Is this bearish? Is this indifferent?
I think that, in terms of whether this makes it easier for the average person to buy and sell cryptocurrency, that's almost undebatable. Like, obviously it does. Also, it's worth noting that PayPal has strong ties to Coinbase already, right? So, it's been possible in some countries where Coinbase that you can cash out or move your money instead of moving it to a bank account, that you can move it to a Coinbase account. So ignoring that relationship seems a little bit, I don't know. So anyway, in other news about major moves to mass adoption, Tether, which is a, controversial project that we've talked about in our Scam Busters episode, had become one of the primary backers of Celsius' last $10 million funding round. So with that, with that news, I kind of wanted to examine why Mineyour.biz accepts USDC Coinbase, but does not accept USDT, which is Tether, for payments. So I've said before, Seth, that seems kind of hypocritical to me, given all of the problems that the community has with Coinbase. So yeah, you've said there's stuff that I'm not aware of here. So What is it?
Absolutely. One of those things is just that there have been some technical limitations for the plugin that we use for payment processing, and the smart contract for USDT is not included in our payment gateway. So we are working with our developer actually to add USDT because we want all the liquidity that USDT offers. But USDC, we're comfortable with them as a stable coin. I mean, certainly Gemini dollar, there's not a lot of liquidity in Gemini dollar compared to USDC, but you compare USDC to USDT Tether, and you're looking at 10 times the amount of liquidity in Tether. So absolutely, we want to be able to offer any kind of a cryptocurrency payment option that our customers want. But at the same time, we're trying to teach and model good behaviors and really good wallet and privacy hygiene for members of the community. I mean, it would be especially hypocritical of us to accept only custodial forms of payment, for example, or to try to tell people like, hey, go ahead and use Bitcoin or whatever else, but reuse addresses, or to tell people, use this crypto note coin, but not the other crypto note coins that maybe move faster or settle faster or have higher liquidity. So we're trying to support as many coins as we can, as fast as we can. We're almost at 4 dozen right now, and we're adding them as fast as we can, guys. But Tether is on the list.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to know that, actually, because that makes me feel better. So there's one more piece of news about mass adoption today, and that's LibertyX app announcing that they'll be enabling crypto, purchases of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies with cash at 7-Eleven locations across the country. That has major implications for the future of money transfer.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about this a little bit before we started the show. In my opinion, this could wind up becoming the de facto replacement for things like Western Union and MoneyGram. I mean, that's been an essential service for a lot of families, especially internationally. Folks, I'm used to living in the Western United States, where it's extremely common to have friends who are foreign nationals, maybe from areas of Central and South America, where they have family back home to whom they send money on a regular basis because of the massive disparity, right, in wages. So you have people who are able to take care of themselves here in the United States and then still send a stipend back home to their families. And they wind up using a lot of these money transfer services. If that's available at 7-Eleven in Bitcoin or in other popular cryptocurrencies, it's game over. Those services they're dead. They're going to be dead in the next 18 months, maybe a couple of years.
So one thing that, is important to note, because I know that our audience is going to be asking this question, and that is, does LibertyX app require KYC? Guys, the answer is absolutely. Yeah.
But at the same time, those sorts of money transfer services have always required some degree of secure information, right? From people that want to send a certain amount of money. Those have been ruled by KYC laws for some time now because, there are bad people who do bad things with large sums of money, regardless of what it's made of, right? Regardless of the currency, right?
Regardless of whether that's legal or not.
Yeah. Exactly. Hey, there's
So,
even an economy of food stamps in the drug trade here in the United States for people who don't know.
So speaking of privacy and the importance of privacy and security online, you've conducted an interview with someone who is formerly on the development team of Haven, Donjour, who said specifically that they're trying to solve for stablecoins in a way that is very much opposed to Tether's solving of stablecoins. And that just kind of worked out well because we're talking about Haven a little bit tonight, right?
Yeah, we are just a little bit. So I've got their project page open right next to me on the screen, as our audience can see, and you can see the Haven assets. They've got Haven itself as the base currency. They've got XUSD, which is meant to be a US dollar stablecoin. They've got XBTC, which is meant to sort of peg to the value of Bitcoin, which I think they anticipated would be necessary as the conditions, at least here in the United States, become more dire, right? And this is well before the Federal Reserve started printing trillions upon trillions of additional notes. They had this on their roadmap, but then New Zealand dollar was very important to them because many of them are Kiwis. Very important to them that they match the New Zealand dollar. But then the Norwegian krona, Japanese yen, and several other national fiat currencies or international fiat currencies were on their roadmap because I guess they wanted to be able to create a stable store and maybe even offer some kind of a private marketplace for arbitrage and Forex. So I don't know if all of that was on their roadmap, but they definitely wanted to try to give their users various different hidey holes for their money, so to speak. And so US dollar, probably not enough. Having several others is good.
So I want to say that the reason that I first, the reason that I'm interested in Haven is that I actually noticed a need for a stable privacy coin, a year and a half ago when I was noticing on the dark web that even marketplaces where Monero is enabled as a payment method, that a lot of users were not offering that, particularly smaller users. And because I wanted to know why people who are selling information and goods that are sometimes illegal in some countries would prefer to transact in a trackable currency rather than, something that's less traceable. And so I actually went and asked several people, and almost unanimously, the answer was that Monero was too volatile an asset to consider sitting on for 14 days or longer while transactions sit in escrow. This, and then on top of that, I kind of went, okay, but within the privacy community, within the privacy-centric crypto community, do people even consider fiat stable? And that answer is no. So a true privacy, a true stable privacy coin would have to have precious metals as something, and that's something that Haven is aiming to add in the future, is tied to X Gold or XAU, right? Which
Yeah, absolutely. Now, unfortunately, here on the main page, I meant to pull all of the assets that Haven offers onto our into the live stream, but they don't have that on the main page, and they do have an exhaustive list though of all the different assets that you can peg to. They're stable assets. It's just not viewable. It's not viewable until you create a web wallet. Oh, guys. Okay, Haven team, if you're watching this or if you're watching the replay, guys, come on. Don't force this of users.
So I have the list right here of the other major world currencies that they're adding as an option for pegging. It's Canadian dollars, Great British Pound, the Euro, CNY. I can't remember, China maybe. Bitcoin,
Chinese yuan,
and XAU, which is gold.
Awesome. Okay. That rounds off the list very nicely. The New Zealand dollar, again, was oddly specific, but it's because the core dev team initially, at least I don't know if it's still the case, the core dev team was from New Zealand. So, they're familiar with their own currency. But,
just to give a brief overview of what Haven is and kind of ask the question of our audience, are you interested in seeing a full review of this project moving forward? Just want to say that, Haven is an untraceable cryptocurrencies that offers the option of private transactions backed by stable fiat and hard metal assets. So its main purpose and ultimate goal is to create a private decentralized finance platform to include the provision of crypto-backed loans and interest-bearing savings accounts. yeah, if you guys are interested in hearing, a lot more about this project, let us know in the comments. You want to see an interview, you want to see a full review. Yeah. What do you want to say about it, Seth?
You guys tell us. I had DeroGold on, but DeroGold is no longer with the project. And anybody from the community knows that J-Riggs. Yeah, okay. J-Riggs, fine. How about this? J-Riggs says that he wants to from the comments section. It's a small world, as I'm sure Leo knows, especially in the crypto note space. If you can get Imperdin to come out of retirement or wherever he is, get his tiny little white goblin hands away from the keyboard for a little while, for a little time, and talking to me, we would love to have anybody from the Haven team to come out and interview as well. So they're a great team and a lot of fun. Obviously, J-Riggs is in the comments section, at least representing. We would love to have you guys on the show at some point representing as well. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely something that we're both interested in. Okay, so that said, we have our guest on from kind of a competitor. It's a crypto note project, right? Fork of TurtleCoin. And Ole, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you. Can you hear him, Seth?
Yes. Yep. Yes, I can hear him. And do we want to, shall we call you Ole or would you prefer Leo?
Yeah, I can do Ole.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Ole.
All right, Ole. Okay, so did you know that Seth has forged TurtleCoin himself?
No.
Well, I wouldn't be the only one who's done it, right? That's the thing about TurtleCoin. It's a wonderful coin to start with and an extremely supportive community. I'm sure that Rocksteady and the rest of the TurtleCoin community was extremely supportive of your efforts to date. And so I'd love to talk to you about that.
I can tell you one thing. Back in 2016, 2017, I was researching on privacy coins that would have the capability to run on edge devices such as small ARM single-board computers and stuff like that. And then suddenly, out of the blue, end of 2017, TurtleCoin started their journey. And I was kind of on and off following it since very early on in January, February 2017. Didn't join the community up until late in November, I think, 2018 it was, saying, look, we need to do something with the code so that it runs on ARM SBC devices because, I somehow wanted it. And then a few months later, Roger Roberts from the TurtleCoin community decided to start DeroGold. And it was exciting from the number of perspectives. First was the technical one. Make a coin that is basically 10 seconds block time. And the second one, the most important for me, is it was probably the first crypto project that I've heard about that has a purpose. And now he went ballistic about, we will do the seasteading and we will support colonizing Mars and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, great. The moment we published the white paper, most of the community left because they thought, oh, these guys are crazy.
It definitely comes across. Reading that white paper.
Look, there's a lot of work to be done on how we present ourselves. When we started, few months into the project, we've seen a massive number of transactions going on in the network. The first 6 months, we probably tried to cope with that because someone was just trying to spam us and bring us down as a project. Mm-hmm. 2020. June nowadays, we have 29.5 million transactions in a year and a half existence. That is 10 times more than Monero had last year.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about this a little bit. So with the 10-second block time, it begs the question, does the transaction volume, is any of it a function of the block rewards and having such a fast block time?
So first and foremost, when we tried the 10 seconds block time, it was more or less trying to realize is the code ready? Does the network synchronize? Can actually users sync or not? And then, of course, the difficulty, unless you have tons of miners trying to do, the mining, you probably have very, very low difficulty. And kind of we forked to 20 seconds fairly quickly, realizing that we're nowhere near ready, something like that.
Okay, got it. So I'm just going to ask the question again. Even at a 20-second block time, you're looking at Monero's is still 2 minutes, right? So you're still looking at a 6 times greater throughput just based on block time only. So I'm wondering if the transaction volume, if it's counting block reward.
27.5 is without block rewards transactions.
Cool.
So
That's
without
great.
Coinbase transactions. Okay.
Awesome.
So the 29.5 total is with the block rewards. Okay.
Very cool.
So it was a struggle. It was we needed to optimize quite a lot. And it was just beginning of this year when we decided to take a little bit more time, and out of a wild meeting, me and Roger Roberts in London, where we discussed things, we said, okay, let's slow down even more. We are now 5 minutes block time, for one simple reason. We wanted to stabilize stuff. We wanted to do some further development. One of the major things that are coming this year is proof of work on transactions, all transactions, including fusion transactions. So that the way we do that is, and the reason we do that is, I tend to have this analogy of, when email came out 40, 50, 60 years ago, it came out without any encryption, without any mechanism. How can you verify or pre-verify that what you are sending is valid and should be or shouldn't be accepted? And with the privacy coin, we ended up being in the similar situation. We had someone who had a script literally generating hundreds of transactions per second, trying to flood the network so that somehow you either bring it down or either you make impossible for regular users to send their transactions and make those transactions into the block. So we thought, okay, what can we do with this? Because literally, we're a privacy coin, so we don't really know who that is, although we suspect it, but that's another story. What would be the mechanism how to handle this? And after a number of months of a thought process was, okay, let's do proof of work on transactions, so that you don't need users to send without any hashing verification a transaction into your transaction pool. And so that this way we thought, okay, we stay private, we stay decentralized, we stay more or less on track with what we want to do. Plus we will be able to lift up all the mechanisms that we put into the code to prevent the bad actors from having an easy job to do stuff. So that will be a hard fork for proof of work on transactions at some point this year. Currently, I'm targeting it end of July to mid of August.
Okay, so this is imminent. This is next.
So this is imminent. That is what's coming.
That's so cool.
It's a planned hard fork.
Okay, awesome. So it sounds like then, in order to get to this point, there have been a couple of block time changes. Then, starting at 10 seconds as your first kind of it sounds like it was a technical milestone. You were trying to prove that you could do it, and then to 20 seconds, trying to prove that you could keep it very fast. And was it a jump from 20 seconds now to all the way to 5 minutes, or were there other iterations?
Yeah, down to 300 seconds. No major difficulties with that, apart from, of course, your blocks started to grow immensely as the transactions were trying to be squeezed in. It's actually, when I compared with the 10 to 20 seconds block time we had, it feels like right now a zero maintenance coin. It's nothing really breaks, the networks doesn't split and stuff like that. Everything just works. Sure. I was somehow, almost thinking, let's keep it like that forever. But no, we want to be a fast coin. Now, the question is, do we want to go with the block time? Or do we want to follow Turtle Coin in the Karai developments that they just started nowadays? And, just, have a mechanism how you could do millions of transactions per second rather than, a few hundreds, no matter what block time you have.
That's a relevant question, I think, for a lot of projects like yours. It seems like the biggest struggle for most projects is not transactions per second or throughput. The biggest struggle is adoption, right? First.
And the other thing is, operational challenges. We have bloody almost 600 terabytes blockchain database.
Jeez.
No one else probably has, apart from Ethereum, who, carries number of tokens on their shoulders. So, that's justifiable. But, based on the research we had, no one is, that much size of a chain.
Yeah, and pardon, I didn't hear it clearly. How large is the blockchain at this point?
Almost 600 gigabytes, not terabytes.
Okay, I got very worried. I was thinking, okay,
good catch.
I thought for sure, okay, I've got to go get I got to get blob storage from AWS to sync the blockchain.
No, you can't really. None of our users anymore can run their nodes on public services because we need SSD storage.
Right.
And, try to get a terabyte storage out of AWS or Google, without, breaking the bank, really.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Okay. Still, I mean, it seems like within the blockchain space, though, for enthusiasts who are running a full node, this isn't outside of the realm of their experience. Like you said before, Ethereum certainly asks their users to sync a very large blockchain. And then there are others as well that sync a relatively large blockchain. People who are running IPFS nodes, that's the whole point, is to have a lot of storage, right? Burst coin mining, for example. So I don't think this is too strange, right, for people in this space. If they just know that's a parameter that needs to be dealt with, then they deal with it.
For newbies and for the people who are entry level and not used to anything bigger than a few gigabytes, it's obviously a problem. It was a problem in certain parts of the world where you had the internet connection also limited for the people to run their node at home. Downloading, especially during the COVID-19 situation, downloading something like 500 gig was probably 2 weeks of Netflix.
Sure. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, oh my gosh. Let's not even talk about all the wasted bandwidth during everyone staying at home. Because we're going to look, history will not look back on this time favorably, I don't think.
So that's technical aspect. And then, and we touched on this point in the beginning, maybe we look to the outside world as a, spooky project with, people smoking too much weed, of, trying to do seasteading and,
it is crypto. Yeah.
and stuff like that. Look, in the end of the day, if you look at activities what Elon Musk is doing, for example, colonizing Mars, we thought, how hard can it be to move life from land to sea and stay on Earth? Because if you imagine that the majority of Earth is basically water, we have all the place to live in there. And now, count to it the rising sea levels, count to it that Holland is literally non-existent because it's effectively below water. Take to it that parts of Asia, highly populated area, literally, can't or will not exist in a maybe few decades time because it will be flooded. Add to it that you visit a beach somewhere nice that maybe 20 years ago was perfectly clean and nothing in there. Now you will, find there piles of rubbish and plastic waste. So we said, why not to come up with an idea of how we could drive recycling of plastics that we could use at some point later, not tomorrow, not in a month, not in a year, maybe not even maybe not even in 10 years. But how can we recycle plastics alongside with the material called ferroc, which is which inventor is one guy in the US that we are actually partnering with, and having the ferroc material together with plastics to build floating islands. Roger would probably go about, building them on the open sea and far, far away from any country, so that you can build independent nations.
Right,
I see it more
Fully sovereign.
realistically.
So are you aware of the people who are currently seasteading and building the seasteading community? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
we are. Yeah, we are.
Okay.
And we have a number of people actually from those communities joining our Discord as well.
Okay.
So there is a good discussion literally about that going on as we speak.
Okay. This is awesome. This is really, pardon the interruption, because clearly this caught Nicole's attention as well. That's super cool. This is right on the edge of, it's a little frontier, right? It is, It's a frontier that people are trying to settle. And so having some kind of not a sovereign currency, what do they call it? A local currency or a local, I think that's what can legally be propped up is a local currency. But having a local currency that is fully private, that is an enabling currency for these little sovereign outposts, right? Of these seasteads, like Nicole's talking about. That's a really cool little ecosystem. I mean, very purpose-driven thing. Was that what you launched the project with? Is that was there ideological purpose when the coin
that was the idea
was
behind it? That's why we have a 100 trillion supply, because it was designed for mass adoption at some point later on. Now, obviously, with the 5-minute block time and not touching the emission curve, we'll be mining for 700 years and still not, run out of the emission. We'll do something about that. But, one thing, look, we're not in a rush to, get listed in the major exchanges. We're not rushed to do lots of publicity and stuff like that, for one simple reason: we're in this game for the long run. It's not something that we will ditch and scam exit in 1 or 2 years.
Famous last words. Nicole and I will be covering this on our Saturday show 2 years from now. Just kidding. Jokes. That's awesome. So you guys have you were anchored to a very intense, passionate vision of how you can enable communities and sovereignty. That's great. Nicole, you jumped in about seasteading. What questions pop up for you?
Well, okay, so specifically, I was interested right there if they were aware of the community of seasteaders that are already building. And then, having said that they are, one thing that caught my attention when you messaged me on Twitter, Ole, was about how you're planning to recycle plastics to build this, and the recycling of plastics is kind of widely, not accepted, but known that it takes more energy and resources to recycle plastics into something that's usable. So I'm interested in DeroGold's vision for, streamlining that process.
Look, what we need to find is a country with an imminent problem. So one of the Asian countries, you walk around a lovely beach where, there's plastics bottles, there's plastic waste and stuff like that. And, imagine this, in the beginning, maybe we would like to position as something like as a reward coin. You have your Tesco Club card, or you have your, you collect points for doing something. So maybe we will just be a reward coin for people driving the good behavior and getting that plastic bottle onto the recycling bin in their towns that may already be there, as it's common in most parts of Europe. It's certainly not a common thing in other parts of the world, where we could hopefully maybe together with the local authorities or with the recycling businesses to come to that. And then the second step will be, once we clean up the environment a little bit, what we will do with the plastics ourselves as part of the project or with partners that we can find around the world. At least, melt it again and reuse it for something else would be the first step. The overall long goal would be, plastic is, in the end of the day, and is a good thing from one perspective. It floats on the ocean, especially plastic bottles. What inspired us to this wild idea was, there was one guy from the UK who, somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico, if my memory serves me correct, he built an island for himself to live on it from plastic trash.
I've heard of this, yeah.
Yes.
And that was the initial inspiration, because we basically said, okay, if that crazy nutter can do it, why can't we with a little bit of more substance? Okay.
Sure. I mean, it also begs the question, I mean, of like creating little sustainable microcosms, right? Circular energy systems, and coming up with alternative, low impact, accessible proof of work that can be operated on these edge devices, like you were saying before, or currently we'll talk about the proof of work algorithm you use. I don't believe that it can be operated gainfully on edge devices right now, but finding out some way to get people who are participating in this seasteading and these other efforts to also be able to contribute meaningfully to proof of work to sustain the coin network. That's got to be something you've already been thinking about and been working. Like, how do you create a circular economy that starts with this sort of fringe use case, and then can be sustainable there, and then grow into the full vision? Where have you guys begun on that path?
The first thought into this is, in the end of the day, plastics as a reusable material has some value. So rather than going on an exchange, why not to take DeroGold and make it a trash coin, literally, and peg it in, and here we don't know how much it, the value in fiat will be, or the value in DeroGold will be per plastic bottle or per ton of plastics or stuff like that. But that's something where you can start. Okay.
Sure.
Once you start with that, and once maybe the presence on the exchanges kicks in, the market can actually value the project itself, the input, and the taking into account the externalities that we are creating by helping the environment, as well as taking into account the longevity in the project, the work that has already been put in, and the plans, and how we are able to do the plans. So that's how you sort out a little bit the value of the project and the coin itself. And then obviously we need people to start using the coin itself for a form of exchange. So basically for payments for goods and services and stuff like that. And there, unfortunately, we're in the same problems as the rest of the crypto community. How do you do a stable, exchange of goods when you have a too volatile currency? We're not volatile at all. We're basically no value whatsoever if you look at it at this point where we are.
Well, on that note, I'm gonna, for the benefit of our audience, I'm gonna pull up the DeroGold project on CoinGecko. I've got that open just next to our chat right now, or our conversation, and it looks like, according to the stacked ranking today, DeroGold is in. Oh goodness, what? It doesn't even show me a position for the stacked ranking at the moment.
CoinGecko was showing something like 5,000 something over the past couple of days. We've seen ups and downs. We had the thing is, look, we're only on one exchange at the moment, and that's FinXbox, and they do a good job, but there's room for improvement. Okay, we're looking for other exchanges to get listed at some point. I didn't want to do it until we're 100% sure we will not get delisted because of technical issues. And, last year, I couldn't guarantee that wouldn't happen. This year, I'm fairly confident, but I still want to have the proof of work on transactions to be in place before we go and get listed on Altily or TradeOgre or wherever.
Okay. It sounds like my mind, when you're a crypto note coin, my mind always goes to TradeOgre. Have you already had conversations with them, or has any of the Turtle Coin community already been advocating that you be listed there?
Not yet. Because, quite frankly, last year it was premature. This year we started gaining confidence that we could actually do it. And we needed to discuss for ourselves, is it a priority, where we are at, in the evolution of the project? Because, don't get me wrong, trading and, having a value added to your coin is somewhat important. However, when you do that, you attract people who would tell you, for the sake of the user base, could you add this feature and this feature? And you got this pressure on your project that quite often distracts you from where you want to go.
Right. Yeah, people seem to look past the mark of fundamentals and fundamental analysis.
So every second day I'm reading on our Discord, it would be great if we would have a mobile wallet. Yeah, it would be great. It's doable. I can do it probably tomorrow, but it's not on my priority list at the moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's talk about what is a priority for DeroGold for right now. You mentioned before, it looks like the block explorer that's listed on CoinGecko is a dead end.
You go to DeroGold4ever.online for the block explorer.
Got it. Okay. DeroGold forever.
With the number 4.
Oh dear. Thank you. I would have gotten it wrong. Okay, DeroGold forever.online. And there it is. Okay, great.
And you can see the number of transactions.
Okay, so our audience is now seeing this as well. This is just as much for their benefit as for mine, just to be able to see. And yeah, I apologize. I'm not screen sharing here because that gives our audience the best view of our chat plus the whatever is in the browser. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is so great. So somebody, it's clearly forked from a Turtle Coin project because
it is, yes.
Yeah, the fave icon on the browser is still the Turtle Coin icon. That's great. Okay.
There's a few other things that need to be fixed as we speak.
Yeah, no worries. It's funny. What was I reading on? I was reading on crypto Twitter that a lot of people, they view within the programming space, right? Full stack devs, they tend to really look down on front end developers until stuff like this happens. And, the front end developers say, no, this is procedural for me. That would have been done day one. Oh, well. But let's talk a little bit about right now with the priorities that DeroGold is going to place first on the roadmap. I'm just going to read this out. On your year 1, it says, we plan to have DeroGold spread to the masses through proof of work, word of mouth, online exchanges, et cetera, a pre-mine of 0, be doing all the giveaways, thanks to generous DeroGold Association community members. Who is this? This is just the current community? This is the founding team?
I think he's saying that the roadmap needs to be completely rewritten. Is that right?
That is correct, but there are elements that are valid. And yes, we are 0 pre-mine coin.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because we basically wanted to give everyone a fair start. And that fair start during last year, anyone with a few decent GPUs or even a phone could mine substantial amount of DeroGold. So we had a few people around who mined a lot, and we had airdrops, we have massive giveaways, and we didn't force the people to do it. It was just, the community from that perspective. There's other elements where we need to work on the community a little bit, but from the generosity of members who were fortunate to mine a lot during the times when the hash rate was tiny, was quite substantial. That's the first element. The other
That
element
pre-mine
is
of zero is pretty important in the mining community, isn't it, Seth?
The zero pre-mine is true. The fair launch is a big deal. So if there is no pre-mine at all, it plays a lot better among miners. But
I agree. Yeah.
But it doesn't always. It's not always the make or break. There are some other crypto notes that have launched with 4%, upwards of 10% plus pre-mines.
Look, few percent. I don't actually object if I know the owners and the founders and what kind of people they are and I trust them. There's one close project that I follow who had a pre-mine and it's perfectly fine. Launching something with 50 and more % of pre-mine, I think it's unfair, and that's probably an understatement.
Right. Yeah, totally agreed. And that's part of what has driven the content on this channel in the direction that it's gone, is that I think that when people, especially with miners, when they get to see developers or project leadership face to face, see how they respond to different kinds of questions, have this sort of live engagement, it's very difficult to fake that. It builds up a sense of goodwill and lets them know who you really are and what you're really about. And yeah, so even when there's a pre-mine and then those founders say this is why we did a pre-mine, then the community, they can decide for themselves a little bit more accurately, I think, than just reading a press release somewhere or seeing yet another paid video. So
yep.
But
so where were we?
Yeah, so the roadmap. Yeah, that needs to be scrapped, apparently, most of it. But for right now, what are the biggest priorities? You talked about some really big, grand vision for where DeroGold will ultimately go. What are some of the initial steps to get there?
So, look, we're still in the baby steps, or probably we still can't even walk properly. So, year one was basically keep us running no matter what, and no matter what the world would throw at us, which I think we proved we're past that. Okay, so that was, to me, that was first milestone. Survive the year one and year two when things can get rough. The second year, for me, the major topic is secure us so that we don't allow the situation that's been going on last year happen ever again, or at least make it more difficult for anyone to misuse the network. So that's the proof of work on transactions, which will be implemented soon. And then we will see how it goes and probably just do a maintenance from the technical point of view until the end of this year, alongside with get listed on one of the bigger exchanges than we are currently at some point this year as well. That's been on my mind for 2020, more or less. We've got on the roadmap that we would love to be a global payment network. That's a little bit of a, and actually someone brought it up, on the Discord recently. I think I read it yesterday, and it was like, oh, you need to work on the roadmap, guys, because you want to be this global payment network, in year two. And I was like, well, actually, with the 27 million transactions, I think we're ready. Just bring us the opportunity. Bring a big merchant, and we can give it a go. But realistically, we would love to get at least some sort of merchandise market going on the Discord first. Encourage a few users to use our halfway baked plugin for WooCommerce and stuff like that. Maybe to offer some services, be it digital services or be it some a second-hand market or something like that. That could be offered for DeroGold, and see how it goes in the baby steps, really. Year 3 and beyond, with the exchanges in place, with the project from the technical point of view stable, it's probably time for us to look more into what we can do slowly but surely around seasteading. and building the what we would call proof of concept habitable island somewhere. So, either aim to crowdfund a certain budget and run a small proof of concept somewhere where we can do to build a small island and make a video out of that so that the community sees it's actually doable.
Okay, got it. So it sounds like you have kind of imagined a new roadmap that does have a more holistic view of all these disparate parts between the seasteading and the
definitely we need to work on the white paper a little bit.
Okay.
And also on the website to realign what were the initial wild ideas into something where we shaped our thinking as we went, and you don't want to start with small ideas. You want to go for the most crazy one and then adjust. Okay, how can we climb that mountain? How can we go up there? And then you start building step by step on your project based on everyday life and what is the art of the possible.
So I think, one thing about reading your white paper is I got, a chuckle out of reading it because there are some really, some really kind of out there ideas, but, this quote that's often incorrectly attributed to Steve Jobs is, those who are the crazy ones, those who are crazy enough to believe that they can change the world are the only ones who can. Because the first step is that you have to be able to envision it. And with that said, your white paper is full of grand vision. That's for sure.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So this is awesome. I've got a little bit of a direct technical question about your current WooCommerce plugin. Is it a fork of Monero WP?
We forked it from the TurtleCoin repository earlier on.
Okay.
And Turtle, I think it wasn't forked from Monero. I think someone wrote it for TurtleCoin, but I might be wrong. I don't remember from the top of my head.
I'm just curious because almost every other crypto note coin has either forked directly from Monero WP or has forked a fork of Monero WP. For that plugin. So just curious. But what I'm going to do is while we are chatting, I'm going to look up the GitHub repository.
Okay, great.
Just really quickly from the project page. There's GitHub, and then it should be listed under. There we go. So checkpoints, Turtle Wallet Proton. Oh, hey, no, the WooCommerce plugin, I don't see it immediately. It might be.
May have archived it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's not pushed on the GitHub yet.
Got it. Yeah, I'm not seeing it here. There are 16 repositories, and it is not there. Okay, cool. Just curious. So, yeah, those Nicole, those are pretty much the questions that I had. I mean,
so what else?
Yeah, me too. So what have we not asked you about that you really want to make sure that viewers, take away knowing about DeroGold?
Oh, two things probably. We are a very friendly community, small but friendly. So if anyone from the audience wants to join our Discord, or if anyone interested wants to have a look at the GitHub page and onto the code and contribute in any shape or form, no matter how big or small, we're open. We would love to have more helping hands than we currently have. The second thing that I wanted to mention is that apart from the generosity of individuals who are able to, redistribute DeroGold wealth in airdrops and stuff like that. We do have quite a sophisticated tip bot, which was originally developed and is maintained by the founder of WorksCoin, and it's actually a part of few other Discord servers. I think at the moment it's present in over 160 other servers and addresses something like 250,000 people or something like that. Might only be 200,000, I don't know. But it's quite a nice tool when you can basically tip any member in the Discord community and on Telegram as well. Works fairly neatly and, drives this sort of a appreciation for people's presence and comments and contributions, as well as, can serve as a micropayment service. So if you need to send a few DeroGold or any other currency that is supported by the tip bot, you can do so almost immediately without, needing to have any sophisticated infrastructure and or a node at home and the wallet and stuff like that. It does it all for you. Of course, you need to trust the developers of the tip bot that, they will not get your coin at some point, because obviously with that solution you don't have access to your private keys, and as we all know in the crypto space, not your keys, not your wallet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but it's a fairly nice tool. So anyone who is interested in the DeroGold project and who wants to know more and who wants to engage, please join our Discord and give us a go.
Okay, and if you missed that, anyone who's live in the chat right now, I created links to the DeroGold Discord and their Twitter page. Those are live right there in the live chat, so you can follow those and check them out.
Good.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Did we go over both of those points?
Yeah, I think we did.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I guess we're wrapping this one up a little bit earlier than we usually do. Ole, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else that you want to say before we sign off?
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. And I'm looking forward for the follow-up in 2 years.
Well, maybe sooner than that. Definitely interested in talking more about the seasteading at some point. And, I've talked to both the first and second seasteader couples. So, yeah, I would love to sort of follow that evolution. All right. So with tonight's emphasis on privacy coins, I think that it's important that we remind our audience that crypto is not about kneeling before a ruler. It's about standing and being sovereign. So remember that.
That's it. That's awesome, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Disappointed! Disappointed! Very disappointed! 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 Wait a minute. This isn't my world. Disappointed! Very disappointed! Wait a minute.